And we're back for another episode of Startup Hustle, a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. If you want to start, own, or build a business, then you're in the right place. We bring you the real truth about what it's like to take something from concept to launch. From growth, innovation, experience, failing, or winning big, we've got you covered. So let's get down to business with another episode of Startup Hustle, brought to you by 5ade62ae90e14849ac58ad7f001ebeed.
What's up, hustlers? It's Andrew Morgans, your host for today's episode of Startup Hustle, covering all things e-commerce, Amazon, entrepreneurship. Today's guest has a lot of things to share. I think we're going to have fun digging into some of his story and what he's working on. Before we jump in, shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, 5ade62ae90e14849ac58ad7f001ebeed, helping you build software teams quickly and affordably. Today's guest, Tony Winders, out of Kansas City today, visiting some friends and working out of an office there. I'm in Alaska. So we flip-flopped some spots here, but Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, Andrew, really great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think we have a lot to talk about. My background is 10 years in Amazon and e-commerce. I know you have several businesses. Like, let's start with the first one, the Winders Group. Obviously named after yourself, Tony Winders. Tell me a little bit about this business, and then I want to go into some of your history. But you help brands with strategy. You help brands in a lot of different areas, from blockchain to traditional marketing. How long you guys been in business? And tell me more about the Winders Group.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Thanks for asking. My favorite thing to talk about myself. The Winders Group is a marketing agency collective. It's a hybrid model that's kind of interesting, and we think might be onto a model for the future of how agencies will operate.
Okay.
But we have a full-time team of about 8 of us right now, and another dozen or so contractors working on projects at any given time, and we're helping technology companies grow by employing all manner of marketing and communication. So for some of our tech clients, we're the entire outsourced marketing department. And for others, we are just doing projects, building websites, or whatever's needed, collateral refresh, messaging strategy, what have you. But the thing that kind of binds all of our clients together is their tech and their B2B. And we work across lots of tech sectors, health tech, MarTech. We've got fintech clients. You mentioned blockchain. So we're kind of creating these virtual teams, and it's another way to liken what we're doing is the Hollywood model. So like a producer and a director would be on the film the entire project, and then the editors or the actors or the craft services are coming in at different times. That's kind of what we're doing at the group. And I'm proud to have my name on the door, but it really is about the group and the collective and what we can do together, and how we kind of help each other rise with the tide. And we're having fun. Most importantly, we're helping companies grow. I'm giving jobs to independent marketing people, and I'm a connector. So I just love kind of the chaos of all that entails.
There's nothing else like, I don't come from an agency background. I kind of just fell into Amazon as a consultant, a freelancer, and started just building my team because I wanted to have quality when I couldn't find quality. Mm-hmm. Are you working in the Amazon space in regards to software tech? It's a booming area. Have you gotten involved yet in anything Amazon?
No, I haven't. Although another of my businesses is my side hustle, if you will, is a company called Pepper Bandits.
Okay, save some of that because I want to get into that, but keep it short and sweet.
But it's sort of, we ran a test on Amazon, and the low price point of a bottle of dry pepper is sort of not economical for running inside of the Amazon ecosystem. And so I'm kind of focused on big food service distribution rather than selling one-offs to individuals. But I did experiment with Amazon briefly, and I'd love your insight on whether there's something there to do.
Yeah, I want to get to that, but I want to save that just a little bit because I was more so talking on the tech side of software. $11 billion came into the Amazon space this year in regards to buying agencies or buying Amazon focused brands. So that's not just like e-commerce numbers, that's like investment dollars. And, in my opinion, that will mean a lot of software companies or software as a service companies around helping Amazon sellers. So like on the accounting side or profitability side or advertising automation, something to make a little note, but I think that a lot of money is coming to some of these software companies that have been trying to do it on their own. And as they're starting to get investment and funding, looking to partners that can help them. And I was just wondering if you had tasted or dipped your foot in. Yeah, it's a new space. It's a really new space. So probably not, but worth a shot.
Yeah, no, I think one reason it's probably eluded us is because the Amazon ecosystem is largely B2C, and we've kind of picked the lane of B2B marketing for now. I am reminded of a Kansas City company called V2 Ventures, which one of their portfolio companies is Celozo. Are you familiar with those guys?
I'm very familiar.
Yeah, so they're working in that space, and it sounds like all signs point to up and to the right for your business too. So
I'm a service based, so I don't have a lot of tech in my business. We use tons of tech, like I use tons of B2B tech, but not like I'm not developing my own at this time. So Lozo, great guys. It's one of the only other companies I think in Kansas City that I know of that's in the Amazon space. So what's fun about the Amazon space is probably what you like about the Winders Group is just like, call us colleagues, call us competitors, call us what you want. But there's just like, when there's not a whole lot of people in your space, you kind of just like cling together, and so it's kind of fun. So Lozo is exactly what I'm talking about. Something like that, where it's advertising automation and some of the things that they do. Let's back up a little bit and pause a little bit on just, talking about the company. Let's talk about Tony a little bit, if you don't mind. I usually like to start out my episodes just real conversational, getting to know the entrepreneur, getting to know yourself a little bit, like go back as far as you want, but how did you end up running a marketing agency or running some of your own brands, like the seasoning brand we're going to talk about? Where does that start?
Yeah, well, it starts at the University of Central Missouri, and when I graduated there in 1990, it was CMSU, and I had earned a Bachelor of Science in Public Relations, a BS in PR, and really didn't get that joke until my fraternity brother's uncle, who's an old school publicist from Hollywood, hired me out of Warrensburg. I skipped commencement, packed my U-Haul, and I was in my office on Sunset Boulevard 3 days later. And then I got the joke about a BS in PR, and like the fact. And it was really unbeknownst to me that kind of PR and marketing might have this reputation of being BS. But I got, because I was green and I learned under a journalism school of public relations training. But I got this colorful start to my career under Phil Palladino, he was one of the last of the old school cigar smoking, Cadillac driving, speakerphone running press agents. And he was just fantastic. And
I'm jealous. How did that connection happen?
Fraternity brother.
Okay.
Yeah. So I flew out on spring break to interview with him. He told me, I got nothing for you, kid. You need to stay in Kansas City and decide between public relations and advertising. And then I got a call about a few months later, and someone in his office had quit. And he asked me 3 questions. He said, let me back up. This is how Palladino told the story. He said, I asked the kid 3 questions. I said, can you write? He said, like Hemingway. Can you type? He said 70 words a minute. And when can you get here? So that's the kind of character that he was. And I love that. So, and then the internet came along, and around 1993, I got the bug for the web. I just saw it all coming, and I'm like, I can't look back and say I didn't try. And I started my first company. It was called Interactive Agency, Inc. And we later rebranded that as iAgency, but I ran that business up through the .com years in Santa Monica and had all the gaming companies, the movie studios, all the .com startups were our clients.
Wow.
And we created a community. And one of the ways that I fed myself in that services business was I also was a co-founder of the Venice Interactive community, Vic. And so we would host monthly parties, and we were all just figuring out the web back in those mid 90s years, late 90s. And after the .com bust and 9/11, I kind of had a fork in the road where I could go toward entertainment or advertising. And I went to digital advertising and became the VP of marketing at a search company that was acquired by a larger ad network called ValueClick.
Okay.
And was the head of marketing there for many years. And between the corporate gigs, I would consult as a chief marketing officer for hire. And my last corporate job was at Gum Gum, which is still a thriving ad tech business. But I was consulting, but not really building anything. And so 3 years ago, I just shifted the lens slightly from what I was doing, but instead of having to know it all and do all the work and be in these companies, I started building these virtual teams and bringing people together, and basically just decided to form another agency because it's what I know. It's like it's in my DNA, and I'm a service guy, and I'm thrilled that we've got a slightly differentiated proposition, and we're just going to see if we can scale it. Actually, I'm not here to build a lifestyle business. I'm here to prove that virtual teams, on-demand marketing teams can actually be valuable in helping companies grow. And if that's true and we can replicate the model, I think we might be onto something that, we're a long way from nipping at the heels of the big global ad agencies or our established competitors, but potentially this B2B focus and this kind of virtual full-time hybrid model, I think there's something there. So that's what
I love that, Tony, and thank you for sharing. I have a lot of questions. One, it sounds like you started a couple companies and and then ended up in corporate. Was there some kind of life change, or like, did there just stop being a market for those? Like, I guess I'm curious around kind of how that transition happened, some of the details.
Yeah, I think the corporate realm was on the back of a lot of hard work and the .com crash, and I just needed a job at the time. And so I felt really lucky to I wound that business down. So I got out of it without bankruptcy and without having any lawsuits from companies, creditors. My former business partner, who I bought out at the height of the market, was gracious enough to take 20 cents on the dollar for what I owed him. And I just worked it out, but I was ready. I was just ready to work for someone else for a little while, and so that was fine. But that's kind of how that progression made. So it's not like I'm the quote unquote serial entrepreneur. I'm just interested in, I'm interested in feeding my family and doing quality work, and but I'll tell you one thing. I really enjoy working for myself. One of my pet peeves is ageism, and I just never want anyone else to be in control of my destiny in the workplace, and hiring and firing. So part of what drives me to be independent is to just be in control of my own destiny, and it's worth all the headaches to have that freedom, I think.
Tony, that's what I was getting at. So thank you. That was the juice right there. This is a show about entrepreneurship, and it's a bug. It's a way of life. It's not just lifestyle. I fell into Marknology and Amazon. It's a niche, just like, and felt like it was early, just like, your niche with tech businesses in the B2B space and honing in on that. And there is a need, there is always going to be a need. There's the Barclays of the world, there's the VMLs, there's the VaynerMedias, but there's tier 2 agencies as well, and we're crushing it. So if tier 2 being under a certain amount of ad spend or something managed, right? So there's these different benchmarks, and the big agencies are never going to be as fast, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, not as customized, not as fast. And myself was a bartender, and I've worked 25 jobs before I fell into e-commerce and really found my passion. Had no agency experience. So I'm always interested when people work kind of the more corporate, high-end LA, New York agencies, like what they learned there and like, what they took with them. But I'm much like you. If I have a natural ability, I think it's more at team building or, leadership than it is management or than it is being the alpha, the all seeing dog, doing everything yourself. And so early on, I feel like I was like, I know a little bit about photography and graphic design, all these things that Amazon needs, SEO and advertising, and I'd done all the pieces of it myself, but it was really like my passion was like I wanted to build a team that can do this stuff better than me. So I'm not just the one all everything. So very relatable in that part. And I'm a family owned business as well, so we're bootstrapped, and I work with my sisters and have been doing a lot of this to feed my family as well. So just you're in good company at the moment, and I love those motivations. You're just like I want to prove that this is my thing. And the ageism thing, I haven't ever heard that said on the show, but just want to touch on that as well. I think that's huge. Gary, I've always been a fan of Gary Vee. He's one of the very first positive business people I found. As someone who doesn't have a business background, I stumbled across his content, was just like, man, this guy is authentically who he is. He's crushing it. He's self-taught. He started when he was older as far as VaynerMedia and those kinds of things. And always talks about it's never too late to start. I've got a younger brother that's from Big Brothers Big Sisters that's 20, and trying to guide him a little bit. And I'm like, you're 20 and I'm 35 this year, and the business I really have turned 7 in August, and it's entirely changed my life. 7 years is a long time of work, but not really in the grand scheme of things, and so you're never too old to start, never too old to pivot, never too old to, like, if you're doing something you hate, switch it up, find something that you're passionate about. Okay, so
yeah,
we
agree and ditto.
you said a lot there.
Yeah.
I wanted to just kind of hammer it
Yeah.
home. Like I very much appreciate those answers. I think it's the truth. Let's talk about this brand. So one thing I will say is that I have part ownership in a seasoning brand that that is a seasoning product, and we make our margins are around 30 to 40%. At the end of the day, and we're quite a bit higher than you'd be in a retail on a retail shelf. And I think that just kind of comes with understanding that platform. And maybe it's even something that, as the Winders Group, we can be an outsourced like strategist for you and Amazon if you come across some of those things. Even tech companies are trying to understand how it works, right? So
Absolutely.
with the seasoning, for us, it was a little bit of price increases on the single bottles, but it was variety packs, so and selling 4-packs, and so getting to the $30 clip for a 4-pack, or versus $7 a piece is more close to the $6.99 retail shelf than it is $10.99 for a single. So there's some, I don't know how far you got into it or whatever, but it's been a good channel for us. I've been with this guy since my early days, so we've definitely done some tweaking and things like that to figure it out. But for barbecue and things like that, we even launched in Australia, where it offsets our seasonality. So because they have summer when we have winter, and some of those things just might be worth kind of contemplating.
No, definitely. I've thought of some of those things. What's the name of your brand?
Miss Rubens. Miss Rubens seasoning. Yes.
Okay. So my product is called Fuegorita. FUEGORITA.com. And it's the hotter, better crushed red pepper. So we are reinventing crushed red pepper. And there are derivatives of Fuegorita. So there's Fuegorita Fine, which is more same recipe, but more of a fine consistency for cooking versus on top of prepared food. And then we have Fuegorita Fire Salt, which is in partnership with our friends at True Salt, who's an advisor at the company. And that's great on popcorn, fresh fruit. It's a potential tahini killer, I hope, eventually. But I think some of the challenges I've been having of late are, well, first of all, speaking of Gary Vee, he came from food and wine into the marketing space, and I'm kind of going the opposite way. And part of the strategy in being able to justify running two businesses at once was that we would stand up the Winders Group and then put 5ade through as a client. And so it's still sort of like the cobbler's children have no shoes, the same way the Winders Group needs marketing help. So does 5ade, but we're getting there. But where I've been focused is on mass distribution. And I've got a huge customer that services like 80% of the crushed red pepper to Italian restaurants in North America. Okay. And they're waiting on me to take an order because I'm still in the commercial kitchen. So not only do I have to jump up to co-packing and manufacturing at scale and find somebody to do that work with this blend of dry hot peppers that no one's necessarily working with, but the pricing became an issue. My customer's getting crushed red pepper for under $2 a pound, and when I was talking to him 10 months ago, my price was like the lowest I could get was $7-8 a pound. Now I'm down to, I'll be able to sell it to him for $4.30 a pound. And that's at scale so that we could put it in the little individual packets. Because think about, like, if we could get packet distribution to the Italian restaurants, that's like getting paid to brand our product. So I'm kind of focused on the food service distribution. I'm headed up to the Pizza Expo in Vegas week after next, and I'll be meeting with him. And we found a manufacturer in Mexico. So we just pulled up a couple 100 pounds from this new supplier, and we've got kitchen time scheduled to bottle it. But eventually I think I'm going to move my bottling down to Mexico because True Salt has they have a production line down there that we'll be able to get on the back of that. But these are some of the issues I'm working through right now, because onesie twosies on the website, even though we have a few hundred customers that aren't our family, people who rebuy because they love the product. Like, I've got good indications of product market fit, but we've got to figure out how to scale. And at a $5 item, I love the idea of bundling. I think I think we might need to sort of reposition as a gourmet brand and bring it up. Maybe it's pizza restaurants that are more artisanal and higher end that are our customers, but maybe we need a glass bottle versus the plastic bottle. So I'm thinking of those kinds of things to get more margin. Or just like when we were testing on Amazon, we found that the medium grip bottle, the 6.8 ounce, had a better margin than the 1.5 ounce, so things like that, which I'm sure you've thought of.
No, I completely get having like your primary too. And, I own several brands that I run through Marknology as well. So we're aligned across the board there. Mm-hmm. And you only get, you got to focus on what you're focusing on. We do have like a co-packer manufacturer in Kansas City. So if Mexico doesn't work out, I've got several food brands I'm working with. The owner of like Spanish Gardens and all of our Mexican Spanish food based brands in Kansas City is a partner of mine. So happy to make any connections I can.
That could be a fit. Yeah, I mean, being in the middle of the country could help too. One other thing that's killing us is shipping. To get that 200 pounds up here from Mexico is $600 to FedEx. I mean, the shipping companies are the ones making out in the pandemic right now.
Right. So maybe your customer, is not the big bulk, even though that's, the restaurant, because they want packets, and it's like your cook, your barbecuer, your that really likes spice and is embracing that. I will say, I'm looking at your website. I love the photography where you kind of have the spice glowing a little bit. Mm-hmm. I like that touch. I just wanted to say I like that touch.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that really stands out. Yeah. So,
believe me, if I could crack the code on put $1 in, get 2 out on Facebook or Instagram or what have you, or Amazon, I'm all about it. I just think that in the few tests that we've run on those channels, it's just been underwhelming. And so, and I also think that content matters. I mean, a spicy food like that just lends itself so easily to all kinds of content, but that requires time and labor and like a lot that my clients get the priority, and that's number one is growing the group.
I 100% understand. Marknology didn't get any marketing. I'm a marketing agency. We didn't get any marketing for up until probably the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm seven, so
Yeah.
as of August. So I understand that, and they get all the attention. And the other thing
Mhm.
is being experts at um, Amazon and B2C, the B2C model, that's our expertise. And then, growing Marknology is a B2B grow. And so it's two completely different strategies and levels of expertise. So having to lean more on one, learning it ourselves, right, and creating our own production company internally as far as media production, but also going through bad partners to find good partners to help us with the stuff that we don't do every day,
Mhm.
is a challenge that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah.
I'm selling myself B2B, but our expertise is B2C, and
Mhm.
it's learning two business models right there.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're reminding me of one of our little challenges is the chicken egg dilemma between wanting to assemble the team that's expert and specialized for a client and winning the business. You kind of need the team to win the business, and you need the business to hire the team. So part of my hustle is knowing who those good partners are, who's on the short list, and then who's on that deeper bench, and how do we assemble them quickly. So I imagine that we have an opportunity to build some technology to solve that as well. That's my intention. I don't want to reinvent Upwork necessarily, but if I could create a system for the group where all the contractors could keep us informed of what they're interested in, what they're working on, their rates, their portfolio. And then that's sort of like my own little LinkedIn of people that are kind of vetted in advance so that we can assemble those teams faster.
Well, it's a perfect opportunity to pitch our sponsor for today's episode, Fullscale.io, helping you build software teams quickly and affordably. As someone that's used Fullscale, as someone that's co-hosted with Matt and known Matt for years, I know that he internally for Fullscale, for his own team, for his own developers, right, where he outsources developers to companies all over the world. He's built internal system like that for himself. So he could be a great conversation for you, just to even chat about what he's done for his own staff. Like, I mean, it is amazing if you go in there and look at just like what's the talent, or that's the product they're selling is developers.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see them interactively, you get to see what their skill sets are, they get to grade themselves, what projects interest them. It's
Mm-hmm.
really cool, it's worth checking out. So that's a free
Yeah.
plug. That's a
Yeah,
free plug.
definitely. No, that was elegant segue there, Andrew. Nice job, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Well, I promise you, if you see it, it is it's kind of like, you guys built this, or like,
uh-huh.
um
Nice.
it's pretty awesome. But um one other thing I would say is, like, when you've got a lot of projects going on, I've got projects going on, and I think a key point about being a good founder or a good leader is knowing when to press on the gas, and when to let this priority sit so that you can focus on this priority and get the best bang for your buck. We talked about feeding our families, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of stuff that looks good from the outside, like you said, building a lifestyle business. I'm not building a lifestyle business, I'm trying to build a business that helps people and that gets you doing what you love. um, I think a lot of founders, a lot of young entrepreneurs can kind of get lost in the early days figuring out, hey, I've got 3 projects, I've got 4 projects, I've got, what do I focus on? And I would say focus on what's getting you paid.
Mhm.
I think that's super important.
Speaking of priorities, I really want to share this book that I just finished called Traction
Okay.
by Gino Wickham, and it was recommended to me by our rep at HubSpot, and then it was re-recommended by another partner that we're working with that I was introduced to through HubSpot. But in the book, he describes priorities as rocks, and he talks about having a 10-year plan, but then a 3-year horizon, a 1-year going to get it done, and then for the next 90 days, he talks about establishing rocks. And it comes from this principle of if you had 3 rocks, some gravel, some sand, and some water, how would you fill up a cup? And then if you do it in the wrong order, it's going to overflow. So you
Right.
start with your rocks. And he's like, so everybody on the team has 2 or 3 rocks for the next 90 days that they're focused on. And it talks about accountability. The whole book is actually based on what he calls the Entrepreneur Operating System, EOS. And
Okay.
so I'm kind of excited to put it into play. My team is reading it as well, and I'm hopeful that we can actually implement it. But you mentioned prioritization and what to do first. Basically, the thing is, you put the rocks in the jar first, and then the day-to-day activities are the gravel, the sand is the distraction, and the water is everything else, and everything else will fall in place. But that proposal that I've been putting off for the last 5 days really is the rock that needs to be done this week. And for the next 90 days, the rock is let's update the Winders Group website, and so on and so forth. So it's got me thinking about all the ways that I want to run my business differently and grow it and get traction, which is the name of the book. So just wanted to share that with you and your audience.
No, thank you. Because me and our employees every Friday, we have a book club. So we're reading a chapter a week, and then we discuss it, and that'll be a great one to add to our
Really
lineup. For me personally, I haven't had a book that kind of explains some of that, and so my own strategy has usually been every 6 months to a year, I've got a major focus, like whether it's patience, whether it's communication, whether it's financial IQ, whether it's like, there's something that I try to pick and highlight, almost like a New Year's resolution, I guess, but for my business, that's like, this is going to be my focus. But being able to pass that down is not always as easily, it's more of like a self-development thing that's
Right.
also attached to any entrepreneur founder. But that's the only way I've ever found any actual progress take effect, is if I'm super hyper focused on even a character trait, that I want to get better at, or that I want to improve, or that I want to focus on. So super great insight. Speaking of Upwork, not that many people drop it. I think you guys are also HubSpot experts, right? Or
We are,
HubSpot
yeah.
certified?
Interestingly, I didn't set out to be a demand generation shop and marketing automation, but as it turns out, that's what customers want. Like these B2B sales organizations need to put more leads in the top of the funnel. They need to nurture the ones that they have, and after the sale, continue to build and grow, expand those relationships. So it's very interesting how we fell into HubSpot. They've been a great partner. We are technically a reseller of their software, but it's not that it's a profit center per se, but just being able to offer those services. So what I find is that what we're really good at is creating content, B2B, really high quality infographics, white papers, blog posts, websites, whatever, video, and then manifesting that or promoting that through outbound email. But of course, HubSpot is kind of they popularized the idea of inbound marketing, which is creating that content that's tailored for an audience, like a very specific persona, right? A buyer persona. But inbound marketing takes time, right? If you're not putting dollars behind the campaign in social or search or whatever, then you're really kind of relying on SEO and making that content really relevant to people and exactly what they're searching for. So
Yep.
I find that inbound marketing has a longer time horizon, but we're doing a mix of both, inbound and outbound, and really just demand generation through quality content. If somebody asks me, what do you guys do really well? I'd say that we're mastering that. And that's something that 90% of our clients have in common, is HubSpot and content marketing and demand gen.
I love that. I've done my best to wrap my head around HubSpot, and definitely use it for email and my CRM, and a lot of that kind of stuff. My contact form, and so it's a hard thing to learn, especially internally. And where do you go to get help for that? And I spent $5,000 on my email sequence. Part of it was a course, and part of it was coaching with that. But just investing in my email sequence alone, and I truly believe automation. Like, I truly believe that it's really helped me close a lot more deals, and I get compliments on it. So I know I've gotten some feedback, very valuable. Do you ever work with B2B brands that aren't in the tech space, like like a company like Marknology?
Sure. I mean, theoretically, there's no every company needs marketing, and I believe that the marketing discipline transcends every industry, every vertical. And so the short answer is yes. I mean, the risk of that sort of mile wide and an inch deep strategy is that you just can't replace decades of relationships and knowledge about a particular vertical. So to that end, we rely on our clients to be the experts. And then we bring the marketing discipline to the party, and that seems to be working. And as we grow, I think that we've got several multifamily housing clients on the back of a fintech payment platform for multifamily housing. So theoretically, and now we've got a real estate broker in Orange County who's looking for some help, and it's through that relationship that we met him. So I'm planning to we'll put a program together for him. And so we absolutely can take on things outside of that sort of B2B tech wheelhouse. And I hope that, someday we can grow into consumer too. And I'd like to be doing connected television advertising. I'm eager to get into more video as well, but I'd be happy to make you my client, Andrew, anytime.
Okay. No, I was kind of getting at that, even if it's from a level of like, just getting a really good roadmap for what we should be doing, and like, having someone audit our processes. Like, I've built a business that is mostly inbound marketing. I've been putting out podcasts and content and YouTube and articles and SEO and just, brand awareness for years, and really, in some ways dialed down outbound marketing because we got to catch up, so. But once they're in there, what's our internal, like, are we upselling to our clients? Are we dropping off some leads that, when we go through a burst, it's usually like that 20 or 30 leads at a time, in 1 month, and then 10 or so in the next one. And are you following all that up? And, you're trying to do your best with your HubSpot rep and, try to figure stuff out. But, when you're a small team trying to do that, sometimes it's good to just be validated by people that are great at it to say, hey, this is where you need to focus. This is where your priority should be. So we definitely need to stay connected. I haven't met anyone else that's through relationship. I haven't met anyone else that, really focuses in that area, but I think that it's really big.
Have you found that the content you've been creating over the past years has actually paid off? Would you say that was a good investment?
I would. In the moment, I don't always see that, right? Like I've spent thousands of dollars in video and creating YouTube, and I was super passionate about all this misinformation coming out about Amazon, and I was helping brands kill it and helping small brands get global and doing some amazing things. And just all the content out there was coming from Facebook ads people or Instagram ad people or Google ads people that are hesitant to embrace Amazon because they don't understand it, right? Just like the internet. I was only born in 86. So bear with me, but I was a young, I grew up in Africa. I was hacking satellites and hacking the back end of porn sites because that's where, that's where you could find the black hat type of games and videos. And I was living in Africa. I wanted to see the same shows my friends were watching back home and have video games and stuff. So I figured it out, right? I would block out the images from downloading and get into the back of those sites. And so the web, when it was first coming out, even as a young boy, I was loving it. I just wasn't making money off of it back then, right? I was just having fun, but completely understand that. And, for me, it's, it's just been a fun space to develop. And, even coming to conversations like this, it's always something to be focused on, like those rocks. Like, for me, it's been, how do we get more efficient? How do we optimize? How do we automate more? So I don't just have to keep hiring bodies, 24/7, and keep, more humans. I'd rather pay my people more and automate some of the stuff that we might need other people for. So, these are things that, sure, I wasn't focused on that, a few years ago, but now it's become a reality. And, finding ways to automate report building or finding ways to do some of that stuff has just been, I've got my employees doing what they want to do instead of, doing stuff that they, that doesn't drive their passion.
You're going to love that book, boy. Talk about, everything we're talking about, just, it'll resonate with you. Like right people in the right seats,
Yeah, and I
And,
bring that up all the time. I'm like, we've got you here, but if you want to be somewhere else, you got to tell me. I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to know. So I've been cross training people just so they can see if they like some of the other stuff we do. One, it helps them have more respect for the other employees, but and what they do. But it also, like, maybe they love that and they just didn't even know because they never got that chance. So you find good people. I'll put them in a different position if they want to be doing something else.
Yeah, another plug for Kansas City and kind of part of my strategy has been to groom young people into our organization. So I got to have the senior people running account management, but we've got some great stories about young people that we're recruiting out of the University of Central Missouri, where I'm still an advisor to the PR and the business school there. And I really hope that we can grow that team and train. And there's another woman who works with us who was a bartender in Kansas City, and now she's like learning spreadsheets and data, and she's really quite capable of running accounts. And so it's just fun to see people grow up and do what they're passionate about and having fun. And like, life is short, so like, let's enjoy what we're doing. And at least that's our philosophy.
I come from the service industry in that way, like through college, and I was a traveling musician for 4 years. And we actually have built a lot of our team has service industry experience because there's a tribe that's built within a restaurant. You have a code, you have a way of doing things, you work together from front of house to back of house, and there's just like a team element to the service industry. Even though you're your own employee, technically you're running your own tables or things like that, right? But there's still this team element. And call it what you will, but I'm always on the hunt, like when I'm out at restaurants or just looking to make great people, because I think great people do great work. And so regardless of what that industry is, and during the pandemic, what a better time, to try something else. If you ever come across some great students at UCM that you don't have a spot for, and you just like, man, they need to go somewhere, please make an introduction. UMKC is our main, I'm a mentor there at UMKC, and so plugged into the e-scholars, but love connecting back to Kansas
for
City.
sure. The other thing that I just love Kansas City so much. I think it's America's next great city, and I'm a real fan. I mean, I really got the bug when our mutual friend Jessica invited me to the Back to KC event a couple of years ago, and I could see why people would want to live here. I mean, I'm from here, so I appreciate it. And but in the meantime, besides the bridge between Warrensburg and Kansas City, I'm also building a bridge between Kansas City and LA, and so that's been interesting as well. I think there's a lot of opportunity between the two cities, at least for me and my network. So I'm enjoying exploring what that's about. And
well, we
definitely have you after all.
Yeah, I don't always know what the connection is, but we've got to stay connected, Tony. Like between Marknology has a lot of brands that we work with in LA and California, as well as New York. So we're Kansas City based, but really only have a few handful of brands that are Kansas City based. So bridging that gap as well, and trying to be a thought leader in the Amazon space as an agency. We're not just trying to exist; we're trying to be a thought leader in this space. And so a big part of that is being known. How do you become a well-known company out of the Midwest when you're competing with New York agencies and New York talent and New York budgets and things like that. So it could definitely use some of your advice as someone that's been in that realm, in the corporate space, and understand kind of that mindset. It's quite a different mindset. We're getting close on our time, and I know I've already kept you late. But in the next 5, I would love to know, I just end with this question, like of all the projects you have going on, whether it's a client or your own, what's a project that's just got you like really fired up, that you're really passionate about, your team's really passionate about?
Well, I guess besides the two that we've talked about, TWG and 5ade,
even if it's within TWG.
Yeah. Well, one of I mean, just to plug some of our clients. I mean, we just started working with a company called Vocal. It's pronounced Vocal, but it's spelled VUUKLE. And they've quietly, for the last 10 years, been creating these engagement tools on websites, like commenting tools and emoticons before Facebook was using them, and sharing tools like Share This. And they then monetize, like those are kind of the free tools that create engagement, but then they are monetizing with ad tags and one single JavaScript code to do all that.
Okay.
And they're for the smaller content publishers that are used to logging into a bunch of different systems and dealing with a bunch of different like interfaces and getting paid from different places. Like Vocals kind of figured that out and is able to pay the publishers more. So I'm kind of excited about helping. They've never done marketing before in all this time. So what excites me are the companies where I get a clean slate to actually help them position the brand. And so Vocals interesting. We are working with a big legal services company called Epic, EPIQ, and their tech division is called Acer, and they deal in bankruptcy analytics and data. So you wouldn't think that's very sexy, but we're really kind of asserting their thought leadership and kind of creating the kind of making them the partners in bankruptcy for that particular ecosystem. I think just all these, Demuso is the fintech payment platform I mentioned. We're working with the Resident Relief Foundation is our one nonprofit that's also in that multifamily sector. They're helping keep people in their homes who are facing eviction, which of course right now is a big national topic.
Yeah.
As people are, so they'll basically, if you are been a good renter and you have the prospect of income coming in, they'll bridge the gap on what you owe for rent. And so it's a great model and a really credible company. The founders pay all the expenses, and so everything that's donated goes to the renters. So the biggest challenge there is how do we get more corporate and foundation and individual donations, because we can only help as many people as money comes in. So kind of that, I'm passionate about that project. I really like Resident Relief Foundation.
Those are some awesome projects. And I think it's part of the reason I'm so passionate about Amazon as well, is like, I'm not just getting hired by the biggest companies in the business to launch them on Amazon or do whatever. A lot of it is businesses that are trying to pivot from brick and mortar. It's manufacturers that are trying to go direct, and things are changing. Amazon's just a marketplace. Amazon's not the competition, right? It's the modern marketplace. And so and there's lots of them like Chewy or Target, or you could replace any Amazon with any of those. But taking businesses during the pandemic, for example, and helping them stay in business or grow, or help them find new channels of revenue is just extremely, it's the smallest thing, but the biggest thing to us and our team. So I can relate. And what's really cool about, I think, even tech that we are not necessarily involved in. We do some tech, right? But like the Amazon platform is technical, but taking some of these, it's not sexy, but taking some of these older companies, like let's say a legal company or that deals with tons of paper, or these tons of processes, checks and balances and QAs and up and down and around, and helping them be more efficient and streamline that and get that to more people is really cool. Yeah.
Well, you reminded me of our health tech client too. Something that you'll appreciate this. It's called Transparent Health Marketplace. And just like the name says, it's basically eBay for healthcare. So a reverse auction system where the providers bid on the work for the patient. And the use case, the kind of go-to-market use case, is in the workers' comp field, which is a terribly broken system, not to mention general healthcare. But basically, the use case is that a claims adjuster for an insurance carrier has an injured worker in Detroit that needs an MRI in the next 7 days. So the providers that are in the marketplace, they can leave their standing price that they put in for that MRI, or if they could bid a little bit lower to win the business. Think about if the winds of change put healthcare spending in consumers' hands more so. Like, think about, like, as long as you don't sacrifice quality and that everybody in the network is accredited, healthcare we could take some fat out of healthcare. My other pet peeve is the kind of raping of the U.S. culture and economy by that system.
I
So-
won't even let you get me started on that. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna avoid that one. I'm just gonna
Just
avoid
gonna
it.
pretend you didn't hear that one. But anyway, check out Transparent Health Marketplace. I am bullish on that company and that model as well. So that's been our longest standing client. They were a client before we formed the group over 3 years ago.
I love that. You have some awesome projects, and Tony, I think I could pick your brain all day. But I know you have a sandwich waiting on you, so I'm gonna let you get it to it. I'm gonna have all of his contact information in the show notes, everyone, so you can find out where to connect with them. What's the best social channel that you're on that people can connect with you on?
LinkedIn is my preferred channel, so hit me there.
Okay, awesome.
Tony
You guys
Reader.
heard it. Tony, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and patience today, and appreciate having you on the show. I know it won't be the last time we connect.
Yeah, this has been fun. Thank you so much, Andrew. It's been fun getting to know you, and look forward to more good times ahead.
Awesome. Shout out once again to our sponsor for today's episode, FullScale.io, helping you build software teams quickly and affordably. We'll see you next time, hustlers.
Startup Hustles brought to you by FullScale.io, helping you build a software team quickly and affordably. Make sure you reach down and hit that subscribe button, then come find us on Instagram. See you next time.
We do it.